Hey everybody, good morning. Jared Sessler here. I want to talk about this Trump case in New York. It's pretty astounding. I'll be honest, I'm pretty ticked off about it. I think as a lot of people are. And the truth is, I think that we all should be. And if you are not, it's probably one of just a few reasons. Number one, you don't care about America. And I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. What is happening here to President Trump could be happening to any of us, and it utterly and completely violates and dismantles the very rights that we have within our Constitution. Or another reason is you might not understand, which I think is probably the majority of Americans. There's a lot of things that are difficult to understand about this case, but it doesn't mean you can't care and that you can't, learn and listen to what the basics are and the things that are really, really important about this that literally threaten the fabric. When Trump said, "They're coming after you, I'm just in the way," this case is literally the epitome of that statement. They are coming after us. And if they did this to any of us, almost none of us could afford to do what he has done in terms of putting up his own defense. Another reason is that you don't want to risk anything. And I'll just point to pretty much all the attorneys, or the majority of them, and prosecutors across this country. They don't want to speak out. Why do they not want to speak out? Well, mainly because there are two sides of the political street in front of them. They've got constituents or people in their areas that support, the lunacy that's been going on, the handful of those people that are still out there. And then there's people that support President Trump. But the truth is, the majority of the people in the middle of not understanding, they don't know what's going on. So I'm going to give you a few points here just to talk about what is actually happening. Specifically today and yesterday, and then what does the next few days look like in this case. The last thing is, I think that people are probably really busy, and I would say arguably you land in the same camp as people that don't care if you're not paying attention to this one, because it's the biggest case in my eyes. It's the biggest case in U.S. history. We have a sitting president, and I'm not even going to go into the depth of that, but it is just so incredibly wrong what is happening to President Trump. So let's just talk about some specifics in regards to that, so you understand what's going on, the landscape of the case. So the media has essentially lied to you and to all of us about what the case actually is. So they've made all kinds of titles for it, which I'm not going to repeat because I don't want to propagate those, but they are all a lie. So it is very difficult to title it. And the reason it's difficult to title it is because there is no crime. So let me explain. This all constitutes to an accounting entry into President Trump's business. It accounts around an accounting entry. So how an entry was made in their business books. And even that in and of itself is not a crime. This is probably the most astounding part of this whole thing. They are saying that the entry was made with the intent that there was going to be a crime committed that tied to that entry. But that crime was never stated. It was never articulated. It was never found. There was no sign that it was ever intended by the president or by anybody who worked for him. There is nothing. And that is the reason why you keep hearing people say, and you see the hashtags, no crime. There literally is no crime. And if you were to look at it just from the accounting standpoint, if they were to call that a crime, which it is not, then they would, the statute of limitations has already ran out on that. And so that's very important to understand. They do not have a crime. Yesterday, the prosecutors, the defendants for President Trump spent, I think it was a little over an hour, basically in their closing arguments. And then the prosecutors, I'm told, spent about 5 hours on their closing statements. I mean, we've all watched the movies. Most of us have been in a courtroom. We've seen closing statements. The only time that they last for more than, a few minutes, let's just say 20, 30 minutes, even at the most, is when the prosecutors cannot clearly articulate what the crime was, where's the evidence, who was injured, they can't do it. And so they spent 5+ hours trying to convince the jury that there was a crime, and they are trying to convince the jury to convict our president. It's just crazy. Some other points is that the judge, this is probably one of the most astounding, and I would say this is the driving factor for me getting on and just even making this video today, because this blows me away. Okay, you don't have to be a judge or on a jury or in court to understand this, but the judge told the jury that they didn't have to agree on what the crime was. Now understand this. In order for President Trump to be convicted, there has to be consensus among the jury that he is guilty. So what normally, short of loony bin that we seem to be in now, the jury would have a crime that they deliberate over, and they would say the defendant is guilty of X. And we all agree unanimously that the defendant is guilty of X. In this particular case, the judge is saying, well, there's several crimes that you could pick from. They still have been yet unnamed, but if you each agree in and of yourself that this person is guilty of a crime, even if those are disparate or different amongst the jury, it's okay. You can all take that, lump it all together, agree that he's guilty of something, and issue a guilty plea from the jury. That is the permission that the judge has given the jury. This is America, folks. There are so many pieces of our Constitution, and I'll just give you a little tip here on something I've learned over the last few years. Our Constitution is made up of 7 articles and 27 amendments. The first 10 amendments in our Constitution come from the Bill of Rights, which actually started as 16, were pared down to 12, were sent out to the original colonies, the 13 colonies, and they were ratified. It took 2 years for that process to happen. They eliminated 2 of them and got it down to the first 10. So the first 10 amendments of our Constitution came from what's called the Bill of Rights. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. Half of those amendments have to do with the treatment of prisoners. Does that seem odd or ironic to you? That is the reason why this case is so important, because tyrannical governments will take an innocent person and turn them into a criminal. They'll turn them into a prisoner, even though they're not a criminal. Do you see what I mean? Our framers knew from personal history and watching what happens in this crazy world of ours that tyrannical leadership will try to use a legal system to jail people who are innocent, and they'll use these fake, because they can control the illegitimate Biden regime is completely in control of the DOJ. They accused Trump of this when he was in office. It never happened. They weren't even for him. They were totally against him. And so it's just really crazy. So we have due process rights within our Constitution, within the Bill of Rights, within the first 10 amendments. We have a right to a jury trial. We have the right for that jury trial to be impartial. It specifically says that. How can you have an impartial jury in places like New York and DC, where the media rhetoric is so anti-Trump and so just TDS infected, and it's terrible. We have a right to a speedy trial within the statute of limitations, by the way. We have rights to a public trial. Even when the defendant called a witness in this trial, the judge made the media leave. Can you believe that? So they couldn't even report anything positive on the defendant's side. It's terrible. And our rights go on and on in the Constitution, which I highly encourage you to read. Let's go one step further. The judge's daughter in this particular case has made or raised millions of dollars that will go directly to support Democrat candidates, the very people that are circumventing our rights in this amazing country that we call home. And they're making money off of this trial and off of this sham. I don't even know what words to use. Sham attack on the greatest president of our lives. And if this doesn't cause you to stand up and to want to use your voice, then I don't know what will, because our country, under this crazy, lunatic, anti-American, pro-globalism, anti-God, anti-children, anti-girls in having freedom in their sports, without boys competing with them, anti-everything that we believe in, is going to ruin this country. They are literally anti-everything that we stand for. And this trial is a complete sham. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I certainly hope that they find that President Trump is innocent, because that's the truth. I hope that there are people in the room that are wise enough to realize, like, look, folks, we did everything we could. We ran this thing out. The judge made sure that, there was plenty of media blitz for this thing, and the Democrat Party were able to raise millions of dollars, but we can't convict this innocent man. This whole case was an atrocity, but convicting him would be even worse. And so I believe they have their instructions for deliberation. I have no idea how long it'll take. Some experts are saying that it's maybe 3 days. I have no idea why it would take that long, but it could go on even longer. I guess it depends on how much the weirdos want to milk this for more anti-American rhetoric to be pushed through our disgusting, distasteful, lying mainstream media. So God bless you. Please get involved. Support great candidates. We've got to take this country back, and people like me and other people around the country who are running. I am not a political figure. I never aspired to be. I never will be. It's not my goal. I don't care about the name on the door or any notoriety. I'm simply a husband and a father, an American who's done really well. And I just love this country. I love Jesus. I want to see our freedom continue. I want to see the strength that is America, that has kept the world safer for literally centuries now. I want to see that continue. And I don't see that happening under this type of leadership, and with an American population that is unwilling to stand up for our rights that are clearly articulated in the Constitution. If we can't do that now, then I don't know where we're headed in the future. But my recommendation is that you support great candidates like me, that you get out and make sure that you're getting involved and using your voice to the extent that I don't even care if you're comfortable. I want you to be a little bit uncomfortable. Use your voice, because our country is literally on the line. And, we just have to work together. We have to stand together, and we have to start sending our best into these elected positions. We can't keep sending people who either don't know, or they don't have the aptitude or the intelligence or the integrity to stand up for what's in our Constitution. So God bless you, and thank you for your time. Please support President Trump, and pray for this situation. I certainly hope that this week ends quickly, and it ends with a complete demolition of this entire process, because this is an embarrassment and it's a sham.